Goody everyone. This is Dayhawk, bringing to you my take, my review on Kamen Rider Revice episode 25. This review is gonna be revolving around one major highlight: Kamen Rider Vail. The rest of the episode, if you guys already seen it, it's not really that important. Because you have Oteka still pissed off, and Angelia is starting to not like her relationship with Oteka, and George is trying to find a way to reverse the effects. And we get to see Mini George, and other than that, nothing really major happened except the big reveal about Papa-san being Kamen Rider Vail. And this reminds me a whole lot of Build in a sense of Evil was the original Kamen Rider, and this major threat that scientists have decided to create something to counter Evil, in turn created the build driver that looks kind of like Evil's driver. It looks very similar, but the Evil driver was the original prototype. In this case, with Vail, it was the original prototype of the demon driver, but more importantly, it's the source of all the problems aside from Gifu, if you get my drift. And also, this reminds me a whole lot of Zork Necrophase in the Millennium Ring, and I'll tell you why. But before that, let's start from the beginning, and then we'll lead up to the fight and the debut of Kamen Rider Vail. So around 50 years ago, if I remember correctly, the Gifu statue, or coffin as they like to call it, to me it looks like a damn statue. It looks like a damn statue, but to them it's like a coffin, I guess, but alright. So the Gifu stamp, along with Gifu himself, was discovered in Central America, and it was discovered, and they wanted to do research on it. And then of course they discovered the stamp, and it was used to create demons, as we see Oteka use constantly all the time. And the government wanted to turn this stamp, into weapons to help the government and the army to become a superpower, I guess. And that leads to Dr. Kirazaki 30 years later. He was the one who created not only the V-stance that we all know, but also the Vail driver, as we like to call it, the original driver, and the original driver that eventually George makes a new driver called the demon driver that we all know. And here comes Papa-san in his young age. And according to Dr. Kirazaki, the boy was suffering from a major illness, that at any moment he could die. So that's when the doctor said he sold his soul to the devil. Apparently, he infused Gifu, some of Gifu's cells into the young boy's heart, I believe. And with it, he was good as new. And here's the part I wish that they would have changed. Instead of Gifu's cells, they could have said a piece of Gifu's soul was infused into the boy, and that's how he became healthy. Because here's where the part where it relates to Yu-Gi-Oh! As you remember, Zork the Dark One, or Zork Necrophase, if you remember, a piece of his soul was encased in the Millennium Ring before he was banished, and it kind of reminded me a whole lot of that sequence. But instead of a soul, the boy was infused with Gifu cells, and in turn, that cells created Papa San's demon and came Vail. That became his partner. And so, based on what the doctor said after that, they put experiments on him, and apparently Vail and Genta, Papa-san, had a close relationship. But Genta wanted to have a normal life. He wanted to start a family and a business. But apparently Vail didn't like that at all. He didn't like the divorce. And so that's when it led to the fire. And they mentioned that briefly early on in the episode, how, their spa is at a brink and they haven't been in this situation not since the fire. And the kids were trying to remember, remember the incident. Sakura was very young. I think she wasn't born yet. Daiji, he was very young and he couldn't remember. And Ikki, who was the oldest, doesn't remember, but we get glimpses of him as a child in the whole fire thing. And then it leads up to, again, back to the fire. Young Ikki witnessed possessed Papa-san causing the fire, and you see Mama-san unconscious, and we get to see Genta and Vail having this inner fight between each other, and Vail is determined to destroy everything Genta has as punishment for leaving him, apparently. And that's when Vice was born, because you see all these black goos oozing out. And that's when Vice comes in saying that he's free, and you see him, you know what, I will make a deal with you. I will wipe away this memory forever, and you will never remember it ever again. And Ikki made the deal, and that's where that memory was blocked away forever. And so we witnessed the birth of Vice, and we're not sure yet how he was contained into the Demon's Driver. I don't know how Genta fought Vail, and we don't know that yet. But apparently Genta also wiped his memory from that night. Also, between him becoming Kamen Rider Vail to a normal family life, we don't know what happened in between. So I'm guessing that that also was blocked from his mind, or else he would have remembered and kept it a secret from his kids and his wife. So, and if he would have remembered too, he would have understood what was going on with his kids, with Vice coming in. I'm not sure if, yeah, Kagero, and I'm sure Love Cove. Those are his children's demons. If he would have remembered that Vail, he'll be like, oh my god, it's starting over again. So he would have been 10 times worried about their sake, because he's gonna feel that history's gonna repeat itself. But apparently Genta, I think his mind blocked the whole thing of becoming a writer. So also George mentions that with their father and the whole Gifu cells, the 3 kids are considered Gifu's descendants. And we kind of knew about this because, let's face it, guys, I knew, and I told you this if you were following my reviews on Revice, is that Kenta and Gifu are connected. And point blank, I said that Gifu is Genta's demon. I was right, yet wrong. Even though I was right. I was wrong because I thought it was Gifu, like the main, like Genta's main demon, but it wasn't the case. It was Gifu's cells that was infused with Kenta that created Vail. And it makes total sense. Again, it goes back to Zork Necroface and the Millennium Ring. That's a cool little reference there. And so Ikki, Daiji, and Sakura are Gifu's descendants. So I don't know how Oteka and Angelia is gonna like that news, since they're supposedly servants of Gifu. So I think Oteka wouldn't care because he has so much hate between those 3 now more than ever. So he can care less. Gifu can care less, definitely. And you've seen Vail trying to kill the 3 kids. And again, it goes back towards the whole thing back at the spa, that Vail was trying to kill everyone that Genta loved because, so you left me for this? Why? It kind of reminds me again, not Necroface, but the whole Spider-Man and Venom situation. Because if you remember, Spider-Man was with the symbiote for a long time, and Spider-Man discovered the truth about the symbiote, so he wanted to be separated from the symbiote, and the symbiote got very angry, so it decided to infuse with Eddie Brock, and the whole jazz. I don't need to repeat that. All the origin story with Venom and all that, so it reminds me of that. So leading forward to the debut of Kamen Rider Vail, the suit itself, it's pretty cool. Even though I said from the majority of the suits that it needs a couple small changes here and there, but other than that, I'm getting used to it, but still. But in this case with Kamen Rider Vail, it looks pretty good. It's not a traditional rider suit with the whole leather and spandex, but here it's like it's different. It's very different, and I'm impressed by it. Um, he is OP. I mean, I thought with Oteka he was very strong, but with Kenta back with his old partner, he's very powerful. He destroyed two demons with ease, and luckily Kenta stopped Vail from killing the kids that Vail left, and I assume he went back inside the demon driver. But I'm sure Vail is not gonna stop until he gets back with Genta and business as usual. Also, another important highlight, um, aside from Kamen Rider Vail and the origin story, and also Ikki remembering the incident, Gifu is becoming more powerful now. With each soul he gets, he becomes more powerful, and he is able, I think, since it's episode 25, I think maybe 5 episodes more, he will be fully revived. And at the end of the episode, Gifu pulled a Hellraiser. For those who know about Hellraiser in movie 3, Hell on Earth, there was this scene where Pinhead eats a certain woman, and it reminds me a whole lot of that scene. For those who've seen Hellraiser 3, you know what I'm talking about. And at the end, man, it got me the whole Pinhead vibes. Other than that, I believe that's it, because like I said, the main highlight of this episode is the origin story of Kamen Rider Vail, the relationship between Vail and Kenta, and also Gifu, and the reason why the kids have their own demons is because of Kenta and Vail. It was because of them that they have their own demons. Now the question is, with Kenta, does he remember what happened in between becoming Vail and also between the fire? Does he remember, or he blocked it out of his mind? Another question, it may be a silly question. Now that Papa-san and the 3 kids are all writers, is Mama-san gonna be next? Is Mama-san gonna be the next writer? I don't know. It's gonna be really interesting if they pull that off. I don't think so. I don't picture Mama-san becoming the next writer, even though I believe they might pull it off. It's gonna be weird, but we'll see. A whole family of writers. That's something that I haven't seen in my lifetime, I guess, since I started watching Kamen Rider. Yeah, it's gonna be very interesting now, and I wonder if the kids are gonna ask their father, "What's up with you and Vale? What's the story behind it?" But I'm not sure that he will give them any answers, because it goes back towards, does he remember, or he doesn't remember? And yeah, it's gonna be very interesting. I'm starting to like this season a lot, and it's better than Saber, and it's going up against 01. So I'm guessing that Revice at the end of this season is gonna take the number 1 spot, and then 01 will be the second. Yeah, so what do you guys think of the episode? Did you like it? Did you dislike it? I enjoy it for what it was. Give a like if you like it. Give a dislike if you dislike it. Um, if I missed anything, please write in the comments down below. And if I repeated myself, I'm sorry. It's getting late in my realm, so I had to get my shot eye. And yeah, so I'll see you all on the other side of Oblivion. Johnny!